All right, 49ers update time. More trade intrigue. No, I don't think this is going to happen. I'll put that out there just so people don't say, you're clickbaiting me. This is a 49ers update. We're going to talk about everything. I don't think this particular trade will happen, but it is worth noting that on the afternoon of the day, during which we heard that the Miami Dolphins and their cornerback Jalen Ramsey are both entertaining the idea of a trade, the 49ers have the fourth best odds to trade for Jalen Ramsey. 7-1 odds. The Raiders have the top odds right now. The Arizona Cardinals are at number 2. The Dallas Cowboys are at number 3, and the 49ers are at number 4. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The 49ers have their top 2 cornerback positions set with Deommodore Lenoir and Renardo Green. They obviously do have a lot of salary cap room, but that's part of a longer-term plan. I'm not sure if these betting websites just look at the salary cap room of each team and say, okay, well, this is a team that can absorb the contract. Whatever the reasoning is, the 49ers do have the fourth best odds right now. I'm not going to be buying it. I think that it's a good way to lose some money betting on the 49ers to trade for Jalen Ramsey. Let's summarize a little bit. This is a cornerback who's going to be 31 years old in October. He's still playing good football. There hadn't been a severe drop-off in Jalen Ramsey's game. He's still a corner whom opposing quarterbacks tend to avoid. He can still help a team. There's only 1 year of guaranteed money left on his contract. And it's going to primarily kick in on August 31st with an option bonus. Kind of like Brandon Ayuk had an option bonus prorated against the salary cap that kicked in on April 1st. For Jalen Ramsey, that's going to kick in on August 31st. It's about $25 million guaranteed this year. Then there's nothing guaranteed in 2026, 2027, and 2028, yet he is under contract for all of those seasons, all the way up until age 34. There's not many cornerbacks who can maintain a high level of play into their mid-30s. And maybe Jalen is one of those guys, but this deal might get reworked before then. It is mainly about this upcoming 2025 season. The Dolphins interested in getting rid of Jalen Ramsey's contract before that option bonus hits, and it appears that Jalen Ramsey is interested in being dealt elsewhere. We'll see who ends up trading for him. Again, the favorites, the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Cowboys, and the 49ers coming in at number 4. I mean, we could even look at the 49ers depth chart right now to really illustrate where they are. I'm going to play this video in a little bit. This is the video from Nashville a little bit earlier this morning because Jalen Ramsey is from this area. But looking at this, could scroll down to all the work the 49ers have been doing in free agency, and most of it has actually, on the defensive side of the ball, has come at that DB position. They signed Trey Brown, who currently is the third cornerback on this team. I think if they were to suit up and play a game this week, Trey would be that third corner. He probably would stick on the outside, and Deommodore Lenoir would be the rover, moving from the outside to the inside and nickelback situations. Trey Tomlinson's going to be fighting for a spot. Now, by all means, the 49ers can still add a cornerback and might still need to add a cornerback in the NFL draft. But somebody like Jalen Ramsey, if you were to add him, this is, again, a player who turned 31 in October at a price tag of over $20 million for the 2025 season. Doesn't really seem to be working with the cost efficiency, the youth movement that the 49ers are pushing for right now. I think that Trey Brown, if he can stay healthy, is going to be a really nice piece for the 49ers. I've talked about this a lot. He was PFF's top-graded cornerback in press coverage 2 seasons ago. We all know how good Deommodore Lenoir is. I think we all realize that Renardo Green is a very promising player for the 49ers at the other outside cornerback position. And what's most intriguing is they cross-trained Renardo. They actually had him take nickelback snaps first last offseason before he shuffled into that outside cornerback role because they wanted him to be able to play both, kind of like how Deommodore Lenoir plays both for the 49ers now. So they feel that they have inside-out flexibility with both Lenoir and Green. And while we're on the topic of Jalen Ramsey, I think a lot of it traces back to that. Brandon Staley is no longer with the 49ers. He's now down in New Orleans working for Kellen Moore. But Brandon Staley coached Jalen Ramsey in 2020 with the Rams. That was the whole star position that he introduced, and that meant that Jalen Ramsey was not only going to stay on the outside, he was going to come in and play inside slot cornerback whenever the matchup dictated. And I think that the Rams defense was really damn good in 2020, primarily because of two pieces, one being Aaron Donald, number 99 on the inside, who was also adaptable, who can rush from the interior and exterior, but the other being Jalen Ramsey, who could play outside cornerback, but he would also follow some of the best receivers in the game inside. So, Cooper Kupp was on that Rams team. He's a great example. When he was in his prime, he lined up on the inside, slot receiver, like 62% of the time. So it'd be a bit of a waste of time if your best corner couldn't follow him inside because he could only play outside cornerback. That means that Cooper Kupp would not be covered by your best cornerback. So we saw this goes back to Belichick, and Belichick obviously was in the NFL a long time ago as the defensive coordinator for there was Belichick with the Browns. There's Nick Saban as his defensive coordinator. Belichick was the DC of Bill Parcells, but Belichick and Saban developed a adaptable cornerback role, the star cornerback role. They passed it on to Kirby Smart, who worked under Nick Saban at Alabama. And then, it's been a thing in the NFL, but it hasn't been something that's been prolifically used, I think, until the Rams got back on the horse in 2020. There's been this genealogy of the star cornerback position, the versatile cornerback position that Jalen Ramsey really executed well for the Rams in that 2020 season. And I think that was one of the reasons why that defense was so good. And that's one of the reasons why the 49ers now with Brandon Staley, who helped Deommodore Lenoir become a tremendously valuable inside-out player last year. I think the 49ers want that kind of adaptability with their defense as well. So you've got Green and Lenoir able to play both on the inside and outside. We'll see what Trey Brown is able to do for the 49ers, and we'll see who they end up targeting in this NFL draft so they can maintain and expand on the versatility that they so covet on the back end of this defense. But even though they have the fourth best odds to trade for Jalen Ramsey, I remain very, very skeptical. We could just keep it at that. So earlier today, I was here in Nashville. I'm still in Nashville, but I was in downtown Nashville. And this was in reaction to Brock Purdy and George Kittle being at the hockey game last night. It was also in reaction to the fact that Jalen Ramsey himself is from this area. We're going to roll the video right now, and we have an update to it at the very end. The update came out after the video came out this morning. There's alarm clock update from downtown Nashville. I love doing these on location. Well, Brock Purdy and George Kittle were in this arena last night watching some hockey. So, good opportunity for me to give you a tour of downtown Nashville as we talk about the off-season tour of Brock Purdy. Because you know what? Ricky Pearsall posted the trailer for his new YouTube channel, and buried deep inside that trailer, probably 30 or 40 seconds in, we have a throw from Brock Purdy to Ricky this offseason. I'm guessing the location was in Jacksonville, which isn't all too far from here in Nashville, because that's where Purdy works out in offseason, and it's near where Ricky Pearsall went to college. But we knew that they had golfed together, Purdy, Pearsall, and Jacob Cowing, and now we know that Brock Purdy is making the rounds, working with Ricky Pearsall, and maybe, just maybe, working with George Kittle out here in the Nashville area. Kittle actually lives here in Nashville over the course of the offseason. He's got his own football field with turf on his property, and maybe Brock Purdy can be developing some extra on-field cohesion with a tight end who is still in his prime. Both of these guys, Kittle and Purdy, will likely sign contract extensions with the 49ers this offseason. So not a lot of spending in free agency for San Francisco, but that's because they're saving it for the A-list players already on this roster in George Kittle and Brock Purdy. We're going to cross the street here. This is Broadway in Nashville. Not sure if they're okay with jaywalking here, but we're filming right now. We've got reason to do this. We're going to make a walk down Broadway toward the Tennessee Titans Stadium, which is also where their new stadium is. That behind me is the Batman building, by the way, because it looks like a Batman mask with the two ears. Broadway at this time of the day is very manageable to do a show on. A little bit later in the day, at night, it's not manageable. You'd be walking through a sea of people. It'd be very noisy. It'd be a little bit crazy. But at this time, we can talk about George Kittle, Brock Purdy, and the 49ers offense in 2025. You know, when the 49ers signed Luke Farrell, the tight end, this offseason, and for the time being, right, there were probably 2 or 3 days there where they didn't have Kyle Juszczyk on the roster before they re-signed him. We were talking a lot about the shift to 12 personnel for the 49ers, which is 1 back, 2 tight ends, versus 21 personnel, which is 2 backs and 1 tight end. And that's something that harkens back to Brock Purdy's time in college at Iowa State. They ran a lot of 2 tight end stuff. He's very good throwing into the seams. He's very good with the intermediate timing, touch passes that are part of a 12 personnel attack. So I think that Brock Purdy, just in general, is very comfortable with 2 tight end formations. And the 49ers, I think, want to run more of them. Even though the 49ers did re-sign Kyle Juszczyk, I think they're still intent on moving to more 2 tight end formations, maybe even 22 personnel. 2 backs and 2 tight ends will be in the cards for the 49ers, but it's basically a way to recreate some of what Brock Purdy was most comfortable with at Iowa State. The fact that Luke Farrell is such an adept pass protector means that he'll be able to handle some of the duties that George Kittle had to handle for about 50 snaps last year, and Kittle can be deployed on more pass patterns. So we made it to the near end of Broadway. If I flip the camera around, you can see the Titans' old stadium, Nissan Stadium, and the new one under construction beyond it. You can pan to the left and look back down Broadway, up to see the side of the Batman building. So this is the cool setup that they have here in Nashville. You can walk from all these honky tonks and all these bars. This honky tonk, Whiskey River, seems to be going already, but there's nobody inside except for the musicians. But you can walk from Whiskey River or wherever you're at in downtown Nashville to the stadium. And we're going to walk to the riverfront here to show you the bridge that takes you across. So Kittle on more pass patterns, it seems like a really good deal for the 49ers, because if that happens, he's one of the best route runners at that weight in the league, maybe the best route runner at that weight in the league. He's been over 1,000 yards receiving now in 4 seasons over his NFL career. He's connected with multiple quarterbacks, and we go back to the 12 personnel and Brock Purdy's comfort working with the tight end position. I think that it's a byproduct of Purdy just being so good manipulating defenses. He knows that with a tight end, especially with 2 tight ends, he can threaten the defense with both the run and the pass. And George Kittle is the ultimate weapon of adaptability that can sell both at the line of scrimmage, and a good quarterback like Purdy, who can manage those pre-snap strings, can exploit that. He can make sure that the defense is made to pay for being in a vulnerable position. Now let's finish our walk here. We can cross 1st Avenue, which is our last barrier between downtown and the river. We could see the river, and then we could flip this around and look at where the Titans play their home games. 49ers were here in the preseason last year. They will not be back in 2025. In fact, the Titans are actually coming to Levi's Stadium. But it's a windy day here in Nashville, but a beautiful one. This is the time of the year that I think, really want to be here. Take a look at this. River flowing, been some rain lately. There's the stadium, Titans right on the water, and behind me is the bridge that you can cross from downtown to the stadium, and you'll also be able to cross it to the new stadium, which is right there. You can see all those construction cranes here in Nashville. The new one's going to be covered up because it can be hot here. There can be some inclement weather in the winter. Unfortunately, football not played in April because, boy, it would be beautiful if football was played here in April. This is the this is the time of the year that you do want to be in Nashville. That's why George Kittle is in Nashville this time. His farm right outside of town. He calls the workout, the weight room, the barn, and then obviously he runs some routes on that field. And maybe we'll find out within the next couple days if Brock Purdy was able to visit the barn as well. But, you know, while we're at it, let's keep on talking about the Brock Purdy tour this offseason, because working with Ricky Pearsall, I think, is really important. I think that Ricky, he ended last season on such a high note. He and Purdy had awesome rapport in that game against Detroit. Then Purdy obviously didn't play against the Arizona Cardinals, but the way that they connected on that Monday night against the Lions, I think should give 49ers fans a lot of reason for optimism heading into the 2025 season. And obviously there's no more Deebo Samuel with San Francisco, and I think that it was very apparent that Purdy and Pearsall connected more efficiently than Purdy and Deebo Samuel. The 49ers are building this offense around Brock Purdy. And, you know, when you're about to pay a quarterback the kind of money that they're going to pay him, the weaponry needs to be tailor-made for that QB. Well, George Kittle, that's a tailor-made weapon for Brock Purdy. They're even hanging out here in Nashville at the hockey game. And then you look at Ricky Pearsall, I think he's well on his way to being a tailor-made weapon for Brock Purdy. So the 49ers, they're making the monetary investment in Purdy. No firm update on that front, but I think that the first wave of deadline pressure is coming closer with that April 21st start of the 49ers offseason program, but they're going to make that financial investment. They're obviously making the personnel investments in Brock Purdy, and George Kittle making his own investment in Purdy, hosting him out here in Nashville. So that happened, and now we have an addendum to that. So we were wondering if George Kittle was going to host Brock Purdy at his place at the farm. They call it the barn. The answer to that question is a resounding yes. You can see in the background, Brock Purdy is also doing his lifts. So I'm guessing that Purdy threw to George Kittle today here in the Nashville area. He's thrown to Ricky Pearsall, now to Kittle. That report is now complete. We have closed the book on the mystery. Gets to go to a hockey game, gets to throw a little bit to George Kittle. We'll see what happens on April 21st. We'll see if a contract is done by April 21st. And if it's not done, we'll see if Brock Purdy is in the building for the 49ers when they begin the offseason program. So Purdy works out at Kittle's barn. 49ers are the 4th-best odds to trade for Jalen Ramsey. Never a quiet day around here. Watching the Giants right now playing some kind of windstorm or rainstorm in Philadelphia. The Warriors obviously have the play-in game tonight against Memphis. Thought that we get started a little bit sooner today with the live to talk 49ers so you guys can go and do your other Bay Area sports things. Since the 49ers right now, yes, I get it. They're in heavy draft preparation, but there's not going to be a whole lot of new information coming your way regarding the 49ers draft plans. We're about a week and 2 days away from the NFL draft. Once that begins, it will take center stage. Until that begins, we've got the Giants, we got the Warriors, we have questions. We have 49ers questions that we can talk about, and we have Jalen Ramsey trade rumors that we can go over. Again, I don't think that it's likely. I don't think that it's the fourth most likely thing to happen. I don't see value in these particular odds. That being said, we're moving to a 49ers update your questions are welcome. Brian says, Ramsey's not just old, he's been hurt, and he's expensive. Yeah, I mean, for all those reasons, I don't think that the 4th best odds make a whole lot of sense. New member. Appreciate it. Thank you, John. Bo's a member. He's saying, ask your questions. Go for it. This is an interesting thought. I can see Ramsey being the vet that solidifies the secondary, not unlike Richard Sherman from the self-proclaimed mayor of Sacramento. Thank you to Daniel. Okay, this might change my mind a little bit. You can keep on talking with this thought. If you have any other thoughts, put them in the comment section. Maybe I'll share them. I will say that the 49ers secondary is not in the depleted state that it was back in 2018 when they first signed Richard Sherman. But Sherman was about 30 years old. I think he was going on 31. He was around the same age that Jalen Ramsey is now. And that is a signing that had positive ripple effects on the 49ers well beyond the time of Richard Sherman with the team. There is absolutely no overlap to the Richard Sherman era now with the 49ers secondary. But I still think that some of what he brought to the 49ers DB room from an attitude perspective resonates today. I think that he was a big-time culture setter for this team. So when you think about it in those terms, you can maybe understand why the 49ers would be partially interested in trying to acquire Jalen Ramsey. But also remember, this is a counterpoint again. The 49ers picked up Richard Sherman as a free agent in 2018. And they were able to negotiate a contract that was obviously fair for both sides, but definitely more fair than something that they would acquire from Miami. Plus, I mean, this would require draft capital being sent the Dolphins' way. So I think that the situations are apples and oranges when it comes to the price of acquisition. I will say that I think you bring up a good point about a veteran presence in the secondary, because Richard Sherman really did impact this team in a very positive way. And I think that any chance I have to talk about how positive Richard Sherman's impact was on the 49ers, it's worth talking about, because it's one of those things that I think shockingly flies under the radar these days. I mean, back in 2018 when they signed him, it was huge news. And then he led them to the Super Bowl. I mean, he was a big part of that defense in 2019. Obviously, 2020 didn't go well for anybody with the 49ers, but it since has become a distant memory that Richard Sherman was a huge part of this football team, not only for the run of 3 years where he was in the red and gold, but I think that his impact definitely transcended those 3 seasons. This show is brought to you by Mando. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use the code Lombardi at shopmando.com. That is shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. We got a 49ers draft update. They may be hosting their 30 visits today because Kobe Bryant, the cornerback out of Kansas, he's got a 6th round grade on him, is currently in the team facility. We can go to social media to show you what Kobe Bryant has taken a picture of. This is Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis out at Candlestick Park. Iconic photo. Both of those guys. So Kobe Bryant's in the facility. I think the 49ers like to host a lot of their 30 visits at once to see how the guys are interacting with each other. It's kind of like a college recruiting visit, although you're probably going to net significantly fewer of the players than you would from a college recruiting visit because you have to draft them. These aren't just signees. But at least one of the players is in the building today. And I've gone through the big list that we have of the 49ers and their 30 visits so far. Kobe Bryant is obviously one of the confirmed visits on it. Now he's literally posted a picture from inside the team facility. Quincy Riley is another cornerback out of Louisville who's on the visit list. Bryant's expected to go in the 6th round. There are 3rd and 4th round grades on Quincy Riley. So we don't have an indication at this point that the 49ers are looking at the premier cornerback talent, even though a lot of these mock drafts keep on mocking, guys like Will Johnson to the 49ers in the 1st round. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Jalen Ramsey is going to happen, but I do think that the 49ers need to spruce up that cornerback depth. And I think that somebody like a Kobe Bryant in the facility right now, like a Quincy Riley, players like that could make a whole lot of sense for the 49ers in this draft. Other visits, and maybe they're happening today if the 49ers are trying to bring all these guys in at once. Kyle Williams, Walter Nolan, Mikael Williams, Omar Norman Lott, Harold Fannin Jr., Jalen Conyers, Jackson Hawes, Shamar Stewart, Miles Frazier, Darius Alexander, Chris Paul Jr., and Tyleek Williams. We've got 14 officially confirmed top 30 visits so far. Now, the 30 visits, the 49ers have to report all of these to the NFL. That's why it's much more likely that they get leaked to the media. You can also go and meet with a player on his home turf, and that doesn't have to be reported. So that's a lot less likely to hit the media. So the top 30 visits might be the best indication that we have of whom the 49ers might pick, but it's definitely not the only indication that we have, and it's definitely not foolproof. But since it's the best one that we have, and since we're a week and 2 days out from the draft, we can continue to use it. Any questions? Let's go for it right now before this huge night of Bay Area sports. Greg asks, what do I think of tight end Tyler Warren? I think he's the best tight end in this draft out of Penn State. Armand Membu, Will Campbell, I think those are the 2 best tackles. Jihad Campbell, I think that's the best linebacker. Jalen Walker, I have my questions. I think he's an extremely versatile piece, but is he a master at anything? Is he a jack of all trades, master of none? That's a risk you take with some of these adaptable guys. I think somebody like Robert Saleh, the 49ers defensive coordinator, would really have to have a plan for Jalen Walker, would really have to believe in him for the 49ers to pull the trigger on that pick. Mason Graham, probably the most skilled defensive tackle in this class, and Will Johnson might be the best cornerback in this class. So you've listed a lot of the top names, and I think that you can make an argument for every single one of those guys except for Jalen Walker being the best at a particular position. Jalen Walker's calling card is going to be his adaptability. I'm sure the 49ers are interested in all those players, and I'm sure that it's going to be hard to net more than one of them. The probability of drafting any specific player is low because there are so many teams picking, and there are so many different players that the 49ers can pick. Is Tyler Warren really a legit option? Or only if the best O-line and D-line are off the board? Well, the best O-line and the best D-line are likely to be off the board at number 11, which would, by definition, make Tyler Warren a legit option. You got to go best player available, right? I think that, and best player available, it's a complicated way that you judge this because they're all playing different positions. So you weigh best player available with the importance of the position. I think if one of the premier offensive tackles is there, it's a no-brainer for the 49ers, slam dunk pick. That's what they're going to do. But as you said, if one of those guys isn't there, and if one of the top defensive linemen isn't there, I think it's a no-brainer for Tyler Warren. And I think even if some of the best defensive tackles are there due to supply and demand, Tyler Warren could be the pick for the 49ers. It would not shock me. I mean, when I saw him play for Penn State, especially in the playoff this past year, I saw that number 44. I saw what he did, saw the versatility in the pass game and the run game. I said, this guy looks like a 49er. I think Shanahan would love to have him. But I don't know what's going to be the case at number 11. So The 49ers would be foolish to not consider everything an option. You have to be ready. You have to be on your toes. That's just the way that the NFL draft works. Question about Brock Purdy. Could things get ugly enough for both to sit out? Are you talking about Kittle and Purdy? I think anytime a player doesn't have a new contract and they're entering a lame duck year, it's not in their best interest to go out there and practice and risk an injury. I don't think it necessarily would be ugly to get to that point. I think it's just part of negotiations. But I do think that, yes, there's a risk of both Brock Purdy and George Kittle missing time if a contract is not done by one of the deadlines coming up in the future. The first deadline being the start of phase, I think it's phase 2, I don't know what phase it is. It's the offseason program for the 49ers on April 21st. What round are the 49ers drafting a running back? Not even the 49ers know. They're going to draft one at some point, I would assume. It's a good running back class as well. Looking through some more questions. 49ers Scotland said Warren might not even be there at number 11, to be honest. That's the thing. We just don't know. You know, this next week is the most insufferable of all. And the month of April is bad to begin with because people are just talking about the draft in factual terms, even though they don't have any facts to back it up. There's, the 49ers should pick him. They should pick him. They should pick him. It's like you don't know who's going to be available. You don't even know if the 49ers like a particular player. And you're talking on it as if this is common sense, slam dunk, factual stuff, you know? So it's crazy to me. I can't wait until we actually have new 49ers to talk about following this 2025 NFL draft. That's the best part of all this. Once they actually pick, then it becomes substantive moving forward. Until then, it is a whole heck of a lot of conjecture. All right, huge day for Bay Area sports. Warriors in that play-in game. We will watch them in 3 hours or so? Giants in Philadelphia right now. You can leave your comments, do whatever you need to with this video. Hope you enjoyed. We will talk to you very soon.